First of all, this is not your first time in Israel. Playing at this venue, playing in Jerusalem, such a big tournament. What do you think of the venue? What do you think of playing in this city?
No, this is fantastic, and I've always enjoyed being in Israel and coming to Israel. I don't do it as often these days, but still, it's very nice to come back. And these tournaments are fantastic. The one that was held last year was great, but this is another level. This venue is one of the best venues I've played in, and so far only good things to say. And I'm expecting this to continue for another 3 days. Maybe not my play, but everything else.
No, but your play is good as well. Like it brought you 3 wins, so
Kind of warmed up. Like game one was very, very shaky. I got lucky. I was slightly worse with white out of the opening, straight out of the opening, and then it became a mess somehow. And in the mess, I managed to trick Maxim a little bit. But games 2 and 3 were okay. Yeah, I think they were reasonably decently played. Yeah.
yeah, I think game 3 was very sharp, to say the least. Like it was stale, and then at some point, it was.
And these types of positions do, I mean, at some point, basically the changes in structure in that game resulted in a position where I kind of need to play for mate, because if I don't play for mate, I am just going to be worse with no counterplay. So I have a very small window where I can go for something very sharp. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to be in trouble. But luckily for me, it kind of worked out.
Right. Another question. So, playing with the new age kind of a players, like with the younger guys, what do you think is the biggest difference from like when you started your career and like the more old school chess to what youngsters have now, and also what do you think they're lacking in their game?
Well, it's always sort of the same answer, because when I began, when I was growing up as a chess player, we had no computers, and all the work was being done by hand, and there was a lot of emphasis on working with coaches. Something that completely disappeared, for instance, was you would play a game against a strong player, and then you would analyze it with that player for like 2.5 hours sometimes, just trying to get to the truth, trying to understand something new. And these days, this is basically non-existent, because everybody could just pick up their phone and the phone will tell them where the mistakes are. So there's really not much point, and people don't do this anymore. And it's kind of regrettable, because I think a lot is lost in that this conversation between strong players, where you catch things which you otherwise wouldn't have caught. So in a way, it's a weakness, because I think the youngsters today don't really have that, face-to-face kind of experience of working at chess, and they're much more computer-oriented. They're much more, I think, for them, much more than for my generation. For instance, calculation is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5 down the list, which makes them incredibly dangerous. This is not a critique, necessarily, because calculation is absolutely the basis for everything, and they do tend to be extremely sharp from a very, very young age. But you can still, maybe in some edge cases, sort of out-understand them a little bit, because you have experience with things that maybe they haven't seen before. But I very much enjoy watching the younger generation play, because apart from the stylistic differences, which do exist, of course, it's just such a joy to see them. They don't have the kind of the safety net we all enjoyed when I was growing up. Like we all had this at the back of the mind that, draw is a good result. You don't actually need to play every single game for a win. And it seems like all the best young players today just don't really understand when you tell them those things. Like they look at you very strangely, and they play white, black, green, doesn't matter. They play absolutely to the maximum, and it creates, I mean, just as somebody who, watches chess and commentates on chess, it's just so much fun to watch them play.
Follow-up question. Would you say that they lack the intuition that the old school players have because you used to train more and
Some things are being lost, for sure, but they do get picked up with experience, because, they still get to play with players. I don't count myself, but there's still a healthy mix of players who, caught the back end of, non-computer era, and just generally playing against strong players, and then even analyzing those games with machines and not with other players, you still, pick up on things which you perhaps start not knowing. It was the same with me. I was, despite, coming from a non-computer era, I was a very sharp tactical player who basically understood nothing about positional play whatsoever, and people would beat me up very badly if they could get me into dry positions. But eventually you learn. you lose one, you lose two, you lose a couple, and then you think, aha, okay, this is something that I need to improve on, and this is how they're beating me, and this starts the process of improving. It'll happen to them as well. It's a very natural process.